I'm going to go ahead and call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. We're meeting in a hybrid format. Board members Biliou, Noor, and Opperman will be joining us online tonight. And I think a couple people are running a few minutes late just because it is the first day of school. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali.
Here.
Member Biliou. Absent. Vice Chair Bondo.
Présente.
Member Bryden.
Here.
Member Figdor. Absent. Member Grant.
Here.
Member Noor. Absent. Member Opperman.
Here.
Student Representative Hayden. Absent. Student Representative Kantiba. Absent. Student Representative Knight. Absent. Student Representative McDonald. Absent. Student Representative Brasado. Absent. Student Representative Kunku. Absent. Chair Lentz.
Present. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or people of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. As a reminder of our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experience for any population subgroup. Now we're going to move on to public comment. So here are the guidelines about public comment. Members of the public may speak on any subject directly related to the operations of the schools, except for personnel matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which shall be addressed through the established policies and procedures. If an item is on the agenda, please use the public comment time associated with that item. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes or 6 minutes for individuals who are using an interpreter to make their comment. Individuals may not relinquish a portion of their allotted time to another speaker. The board may not respond to comments, and please refrain from responding in the audience. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disruptive conduct, including but not limited to using vulgar and or obscene language, threatening others using words or by other actions, using pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or a group on the basis of their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor, making defamatory comments, exceeding the allotted time limits, talking over or interrupting others, offering repetitive comments, and offering comment on matters unrelated to the school district's programs, policies, or operations. I will stop any public comment that is contrary to these rules. To give public comment, please come forward to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Please begin by introducing yourself with your name and address, and if needed, we'll alternate between Zoom and in person. I'll keep the time, and I raise a yellow folder. This yellow folder. indicating that you have 30 seconds remaining, and then a red folder signifying the end of your time. If you get to the end of your allotted time and would like to request more time, you may do so. So if you would like to give public comment, you can now come up to the podium or raise your Zoom hand. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Jen Cooper, EdTech Union President. Can I start by saying thank you all for showing up? I couldn't be more proud to represent the people behind me. The excitement of starting a new school year and welcoming students back today was also met by disappointment of knowing that I had to be here tonight to speak once again about starting a new year without a contract. Time and time again, I've stood here and been told that we're valued members of the Portland public school community. And however, we've worked without a contract not only last time, but this time here we are again. Our last contract was a year and 2 months overdue, but we continue to be told you're valued. Portland Public School is losing experienced, talented, and knowledgeable staff to surrounding districts who have improved their pay scale to reflect not only the economy that we're living in, but they also understand the importance of attracting support staff to their schools. Staff have been patient through payroll and accrual issues when they're living paycheck to paycheck, but they will not continue to stay when they see schools 20 to 30 miles from here paying much, much more. I've been begging people to stay long enough to see this contract come through, but I'm losing the fight because they're seeing others willing to pay more. We're just asking for a livable wage. A wage that even the state of Maine has recognized the importance to pay to fair pay with enacting LD 974, which will move the starting pay of support professionals to 125%. The state realizes that support staff cannot survive on our current pay. We need to do the same. This summer, my son excitedly spoke about a job that he was offered as a busboy at a catering company. His starting wage was $20 an hour. That's step 4 on our contract. That's my 16-year-old who's making more than the beginning of our contract. As a parent, I was proud of him at that moment for his very first job, but he couldn't help to be sad a tiny bit. To think I've spent 26 years pouring everything that I have into the career that I am doing, and I love working with the students that I have, but he's making barely less than I am 26 years later. I love the work that I do and the impact that I have on students every day. I just wish that I only had one job instead of the 4. With $161.4 million, there's money. It's just about priorities. Prioritize paying EdTechs a livable wage, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie Dowdy, Portland Education Association. I'm also a Portland resident. I want to start by saying thank you, Jen Cooper. And I also want to first acknowledge the people standing in the back of the room. They are ed techs, they are teachers, they are bus drivers, they work the front office, they are nurses, they are parents, students, they are retirees from the Portland Public Schools. And many, many of them are Portland taxpayers. Collectively, they are people who understand the extraordinary value of the work ed techs do with some of our most vulnerable students every day in our schools. They are people who feel so strongly that ed techs should be paid a living wage that they are here tonight on the very first day of school for our students. In the past, not this negotiation cycle, but in years past, there would sometimes be a divide and conquer strategy during contract negotiations. We have no money. We used it all to give the teachers or another collective bargaining group a raise, things like that, pitting each different collective bargaining group against each other for resources. And I want to state at the mic tonight publicly that the Portland Education Association is one union and collectively with BASE growing one large labor coalition, and we will not allow ourselves to be divided. In today's paper, the Portland Public Schools responded to a scarcity of bus drivers by doing the right thing. This is a good thing, and raising the starting salary to $21.33 for bus drivers to attract more applicants to the positions, as well as to reduce the number of bus drivers hired from outside agencies. There are many open ed tech positions right now in our schools offering a starting salary currently of $18.94. Often when these positions cannot be filled, the district has to turn to outside agencies. During the budget season last spring, Jen and I stood before you several times to state our intentions and to let you know that we would be coming to the bargaining table seeking a significant increase to the ed tech salary scale. Before the budget was voted on by the school board, $1.3 million in positions were voted back into the budget. So there was money, and now that we are here doing exactly what we said we were going to do, there is no money. There was money, there used to be money, there was never any money, now there is money, now there isn't. Priorities. Towns around us are negotiating new contracts with new starting salaries for ed techs. And I'm just going to read some of them off. Bethel, their new minimum starting salary is $25.04. Berwick, $24.80. Topsom, $23.11. Brunswick, $22.80. Kennebunk, $22.50. Cumberland, $22.46. Belfast, $22.39. Livermore, $22.39. West Bath, I'm just going to read two more, $22.35. And RSU 01 Bath, $22.34. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
My name is Maya Lena. I live on Essex Street and I'm a parent at Rowe Elementary and a substitute teacher at Rowe. I'm also a candidate for school board at large. I'm here tonight to speak in support of our incredible PPS staff and in particular our ed techs. Ed techs come to school every day, excited to be part of their schools. Their jobs are challenging and essential. We cannot run our schools without these talented and committed people. Aside from the wonderful individual qualities each staff person brings to their particular role, ed techs help us to be in legal compliance with student to teacher ratios as well as with IEP mandates. Ed techs supervise the lunchroom and playgrounds. They support students with academics and behavioral needs. When we are unable to fill ed tech positions, we put our students at risk because there are not enough adults to supervise and support our students. It is our responsibility as a district to attract the best and most qualified candidates and to keep our ed techs in our district. We must do this by offering competitive wages and benefits and do whatever we can to support our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment? If so, please come on forward or raise your Zoom hand. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. I thank you all for being here tonight. And I'm going to change direction a bit because this morning I got to spend time in multiple school communities as they welcomed our students for the first day of school. The first day of school in PPS has quickly become my favorite day of the year. The excitement in the air is palpable. The love radiating from our staff to the students is electric, and there's a strong sense of community and shared experience. I'm incredibly grateful to all of our staff members, to our parents and caregivers who did incredible jobs balancing everything over the summer to show up on this first day of school, and to our students who are in for a great year of their lives. Many thanks to all the board members who were out at schools this morning, and kindergartners and pre-Kers, you're in great hands for Thursday, and Portland Adult Ed, good luck next week as you launch your number of classes. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the superintendent for your remarks.
Good evening, everyone. My comments are going to be brief today as it's the first day of school and everybody was in and out of buildings today, but wanted to give 3 quick updates. First, just last Wednesday, we had the opportunity to welcome back all 1,400 of our staff to Merrill Auditorium. The themes, as I think of them at a high level, were speaking about our why, our team, and our plan. And if you had the opportunity to stop by Merrill, you could have felt the power that was in the auditorium. Our organization, our district is only as strong as the individuals that are in our classrooms, in our hallways, and supporting students. And to have all 1,400 of them in one spot was truly, I think, inspiring to really get a sense of their energy. To have an opportunity to have the principals dance on stage and to show a little bit of their personality, but then to introduce their school teams, to have our central office departments have the ability to talk about their work, and then for us to dig in on our strategic plan and the work that we have ahead was exciting. We also had the opportunity to hear from some guests, including from our chair, Lentz, from Mayor Dion, from Deputy Commissioner Chuda, Commissioner Pender, and a welcome from our governor. And so I'd love to actually pull down my screen here just so you can get a little bit of a sense of the welcome and the speakers that we had, and ask Greg if you are willing to share the welcome that the governor played. So Greg, are you play that?
Hello, this is Governor Janet Mills, and welcome back to school, Portland. Every August for nearly 4 decades, my own mother organized her classroom, gathered supplies, wrote lesson plans, prepared for another year of teaching English to Maine high school students. And for many of those years, she was also getting her own 5 kids ready for school at the same time. It was always a balancing act, but somehow my mother made it look easy. When our 5 girls attended public school in Maine, my husband, Stan, and I gained an even deeper appreciation for school staff who meet a new school year with energy and excitement and an eagerness to discover the unique ways that students learn. Portland Public Schools sets an example of excellence for the rest of the state, maintaining high educational standards as the largest and most diverse school district in Maine. Maine's 2024 Teacher of the Year, Joshua Chard, embodies those standards every day in his 3rd grade classroom at East End Community School in Portland. Like so many of you, Joshua transforms the required state curriculum into real-life lessons for the youngest learners in Maine. That passion for public education leaves a lasting impression. Take it from me, I hold the memory of a public school teacher close to my heart. Thank you for your dedication and your commitment to the students and families of Portland, Maine. These first days back at school may be a little hectic, and on behalf of parents everywhere, I thank you for your hard work, your patience, and your humor, and your determination to ensure that every child in Maine gets the quality education they deserve. Welcome back to school, Portland. May this year be the best year ever.
And so if you had the opportunity to join us, you would have felt the energy that was there and the excitement. And while the governor said that it may be a little bit hectic, I'll use her transition there to just say that the first day of school today was anything but hectic. If you had the opportunity to visit classes, to see the bus yard this morning at 6 a.m., the work that our food service, our transportation, our facilities has done to make sure that school was ready, that our classroom teachers, our principals, and our school leaders did to make sure that school was ready, really paid off. And that students that you see here on the screen from pictures from today for the first day of school, school went off pretty well. And so there were minor hiccups as you would expect, but overall just a great first day with kids really quite excited to be back in school. Starting with a little bit of a chill from this morning, but overall just excited to be back in school and enjoying it. And so just a big thank you to everybody and all the work that went in this summer to make sure that the first day of school was a success. And as board chair mentioned, while we welcome the vast majority of our 6,600 students to our schools today, we do have our pre-K students and our kindergarten students starting back with us on Thursday. Last, we'll keep plugging this, but we are celebrating our newest learning spaces on Saturday, September 21st, starting at 10 a.m. with ribbon cutting at Presumpscot Elementary, and then continuing on at 11 and 12. And there'll be more information for the individual schools around those celebrations as we really celebrate the building for our future and those newest buildings or the renovations of those buildings. And so look out for more information at those 3 schools, but that bus tour will happen on September 21st, starting at 10 a.m. With that, just to thank you again for board members who were able to join us this morning and participate. And if you couldn't make it out today, the good news is we have 174 more school days. And so there are plenty of time to get out and to join us. And we look forward to continuing the updates. With that, I'll pass it back.
Beautiful. Up next, we have the report of the secretary. So we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of August 20th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes from August 20th, 2024? Just double check Zoom. I see none. So if there are no further corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. And then up next, we have a series of committee reports to bring to the full board and to the community what's been happening on our committee level. So each of these report outs, the board member, if they want to give a summary of the work that's been happening, and then the staff member that supports that committee is also welcome to join to fill in with any details. So I'm happy to start with the Boundaries Advisory Committee. That committee came together for the first time last week. And was it last week? I have no concept of time anymore. But we came together virtually. It is an incredible group of parents and community members and one current student who came together to start to orient themselves with the proposal in front of them and kind of the scope of the work and the district as a whole as it is right now and how it's districted. So we had a very rich conversation about all of those things. And then the committee started to brainstorm what data would be helpful for them to, what data and what questions they had that they want to dig into to drive the work. One of the biggest things that we did talk about within that committee and that we'll keep coming back to is just the decision points around that committee. And as a reminder to everybody on the board, that committee is going to be tasked with bringing a series of recommendations to the board. They are not the decision makers around that. We will be the decision makers as to which of those recommendations we move forward with. So we just got super clear on our role. And within the PDF that is attached in board docs, you can kind of see a very loose sketch of the work that we are going to be moving forward through for the next few months. Superintendent Scallon, is there anything that you would add onto that?
No, I think that's right. I think the only other piece that's come up since that committee meeting is that we are right now working for the next committee meeting, which is scheduled for September 26th. And our current plan is to have the demographer here with us in person. And so that will likely be an in-person meeting and not just a virtual meeting. And so there's an opportunity to engage with them in person to help the committee out as they really dig into this work.
Beautiful. Yeah, Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
Is it possible to ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I am thrilled that the work of this committee is getting started and really appreciate the chair for her participation and chairing the committee.
We are working on getting a facilitator, but
Okay.
in the meantime, I am
Excellent.
stewarding us.
Along with Board Member Ali. So thank you so much. I had one question just looking very quickly at the overview of kind of the flow of the work. And I know it's very rough at this stage, but I know that right sizing the middle schools is part of the mission of the committee. And I'm not sure if that's incorporated in these scenarios, but just want to make sure that we're doing both parts of the work of this committee, both looking at how to more equitably distribute our students across the district and also right-sizing our middle schools. So is that embodied in this kind of very rough plan?
Superintendent Scanlon, do you want to take a first pass at that, or do you want me to?
I mean, I'm happy to. So I think it is what I would say is what I've sort of shared all along, which is that the timeline for all of this work is fairly aggressive, right? And so what you see here is an initial timeline, and so it is included. And so the reviewing of the draft scenarios does include that. And we may find that as they dig into the work with the demographer and are working through scenarios, that they may not be able to capture all of it. But yes, it is included in there.
And I think on that note, like we talked a lot with the committee about being able to be iterative in this process and responsive, because it feels like we're kind of at the tip of the iceberg. And as we get into things, it may get bigger or smaller, or so just being able to be nimble. Any other questions about this committee work? Just double check. I don't have any hands on Zoom. Okay, so with that, Board Member Biliou, would you like to give an update about the Curriculum and Policy Committee?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Chair. Yeah, so the Curriculum and Policy Committee met, I think, like 3 weeks ago on August 13th. And we had a pretty broad discussion about what we would like our year to look like, and specifically what policies we would like to discuss, and what processes would we like to put in place to help us get through the work. And so a lot of the conversation was around things that we wanted to see. So we wanted to ensure topics that would have any implication with the budget, or topics that would like need to be discussed before the budget period, just to be sure to be able to get those before the budget process, so that we can have the conversation there and also maybe intersect with finance as well. We also had conversations around equity and professional development, and the cost of professional development, and the continuation of those programmings and what it looks like on the ground. So we just wanted a better understanding of our equity programs and getting continuous update throughout the policy and curriculum work. And then we also discussed sorry, there's people in this house, and you guys might be hearing some noise in the background. But the last thing we also discuss is ensuring that we have the opportunity to hear about curriculum implementation, and just being able to understand the progress throughout, especially if those curriculums are being implemented as some of us board members are here as well. And so the document has a little bit more information. I don't know if I should go through all of the policies that we're hoping to discuss this year, but it was generally a conversation around what we would like to see, and maybe if we would like to do our work a bit different, and just change up the ways we talk about the curriculum work. I don't know if Sarah is here and if she would like to add any, but Juliana and Mickey are also on the committee. So if you guys have anything to add as well, feel free to.
No, not for now. I think we'll be back with more.
Beautiful. Anybody else wanted to add to that committee, or questions for that committee?
No, I think Nyla did a fine job with that. And, the idea is to be more in tune to what's going on in the district, and not just as reactive to the district.
Thank you, Board Member Upperman. And just exciting to see that all of the required policy updates that have to happen on an annual basis are built into your calendar. So thank you for operationalizing that. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and move on to Finance, Operations, and Human Resources. Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So let's see. So this committee, the name of the committee tracks with the breadth of subject matter. So finance, operations, personnel, a lot of things to talk about and a lot of big things to talk about. So we have started our year with a little bit of housekeeping, actually. So we're going to stick with second Monday of the month. Coincidentally, that means some adjustments in both October for Indigenous Peoples Day and also November for Veterans Day. But second Monday of September is Monday the 9th, so we'll be meeting. We've adjusted our start time from 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Based on some feedback from the community. As I think we've said in a couple of meetings previously, there's no one good time that works for everybody. We tried 4:30 and we're going to move to 6. The first meeting of this year covered a number of updates, some of which will be somewhat redundant to people that have been paying attention to, for example, the most recent business meeting. So we've talked about staffing adjustments, title funding updates, the Maine PERS research and cleanup efforts, as well as tracking HR processes and making sure that we're getting those where they need to be. Specifically on the title funding and the staffing adjustments, there's also been discussion about discussion and sort of reiterating the concept of the work that we do around budgets is intended to be and must be sort of a framework, and things are going to by definition and by necessity fluctuate throughout the year. So it's really important for the committee to get updates on how that is panning out, which has been really useful. We also talked about sort of the arc for the rest of the academic year and our meetings that will be happening over the course of the next 9 or 10 months. Some very exciting topics that will be covered over the course of those meetings, things like transportation from an operations perspective, from a personnel perspective, culture, retention, hiring practices, things like that, the capital improvements, operational, recurring annual topic. And then, of course, the budget in winter and spring. I do think that it's true that it's always budget season, but then there's just, budget to the nth degree season that we need to focus in on in the winter and spring. So in our next meeting, we're going to be finalizing or at least getting more clarity on any other topics that committee members want to make sure to tackle, recognizing that there's going to need to be a balancing act between all of the ongoing work that we need to do in each meeting. For example, getting updates on Maine PERS, things like that, recurring topics that will need to take up a little bit of time in every meeting, and reserving time for things that might come up that are unexpected, but also making sure that we have a list of topics for each meeting throughout the academic year so that staff can be prepared and we can have really, really solid, productive conversations. Superintendent Scallon, is there anything you would add?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions for this committee? All right, I'm seeing none. So we're going to go ahead and move on to public affairs. Board Member Grant, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I should be able to make this fairly quick. We've had a couple of meetings to really make some progress since the end of the last school year regarding a more aggressive approach to communicating with the public and constituents. So we're going to embark this fall on trying to kind of mirror the city council's district by district meeting schedule rather than in the past we've kind of tagged along. I think to our detriment, where a lot of district meetings involve things like potholes and whatnot that we don't have to deal with. So we're going to try to do our own meetings just around the schools. For the board members, you'll see in the board update that there is a sheet to sign up for these district meetings. We have one throughout the fall in all 5 districts. We also have a plan to meet with student groups. This is a plan that's not fully formed yet. We are going to be in touch with the various student groups so that we can hear student voices, not just parents and staff. Backing up a step, you'll probably know also that the district meetings will somewhat coincide with parent-teacher conferences when we expect there'll be a lot more parents in and out of the school buildings, and it might just make it more convenient for people to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, to come see us on a night when they're also going to see their teachers. And then the last thing that's under development is some more communications around the strategic plan. There is a brochure that's been developed by the staff, and there's also some video work that is underway so that we can help spread the word about what we have planned and what's new coming through the schools in this under the new plan that was passed last spring. So I hope and encourage all the board members will sign up for a slot for the district meetings. I think it's going to be our focus. If it goes well, we will probably replicate it again in the spring, especially around budget season, but we wanted to do more in the fall when schools are on people's minds with the start of school. So unless you have any other questions, I can stop there.
Great. And Dr. Valenzuela, was there anything that you wanted to add? Okay, perfect. Yeah. Go ahead, Board Member Hayden.
All right, to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned meeting with student groups to consult, and I'm just wondering, on each sort of level of education, what specific groups you plan on meeting with, and perhaps why?
I think the short answer is as many as we can. We want to try to do it all kind of at once. There's only so many meetings that people can continue to schedule in their lives, but we want to try to, in each, especially in the high schools, is really focus on the high schools, but try to get as many groups together at one time to have board members come in. To be perfectly honest, the staff will be taking up the communication, so I would have to defer to Grace as to who we've contacted at this point, but just as a general answer, it's, whoever we can talk to. Again, this is new. We haven't done this at least in my tenure as an aggressive approach at this. So it's still kind of a blank canvas. If you have ideas or suggestions, now is the time to make them. And I would also be remiss if I didn't thank Grace and her team for the work that goes into this. Obviously, we wouldn't get this done without your work on the front line. So thank you, Grace.
Any other questions for this committee? All right. Thank you all for those updates. We're going to do a quick switch in the agenda, which we're going to do personnel next, because we have some great staff members here who have already had a very big day. So let's get them off through the agenda, and then we'll get back to new business. So up first, okay, great. Here comes Jennifer. We have the consideration and action to approve election of teacher candidates. Would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Thank you. I just wanted to say, I know it looks like a short list today, and I wanted to make sure to call out and thank our HR team, who's been very busy onboarding over 350 new employees this summer. So while we only have 4 probationary teachers on the list today, when you add in all of our coaches and our subs and our admin and all of the new staff that don't fit under this little umbrella of probationary teachers, it's been quite a lot of onboarding. And I wanted to highlight that because I thought this is not representative of all of the work that they've been doing.
Thank you for that. So do I have a motion for this action? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. We don't take public comment on personnel items. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, any general discussion, not about an individual from the board? Just double check Zoom. Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the election of teacher candidates probationary. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Member Bilyeu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Abstain.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
And I'm skipping the student representatives, right?
I have Hayden and McDonald here.
Okay, so they are voting on this. Hayden
Yes.
and McDonald and Chair Lentz.
Yes. So the motion passes with Board Member Grant abstaining and the students voting with the majority. And the student representatives vote, but it's more of a signifier, not an actual vote, so it couldn't take away the majority.
Thank you. I thought personnel was
problem.
different.
Next up, we have the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed for school administrators.
Okay, great. And we are going to start bringing some of our new school leaders in to join you and be introduced as we go through the course of this year. So this year, or tonight, we have Miss Darylyn Moore and Miss Emily Wells here with us. Emily is the one who you see in front of you on for consideration for approval today. But I do just want to also call out Miss Darylyn, because she already went to you for approval and she was with us last year, but I still think it's important to share that she is serving not as assistant principal this year, but as principal at Moore. And she said her goal for this year is to provide a safe, inclusive, and positive environment for each student, creating joy, that's in all capital letters, creating joy and a sense of belonging. She has 17 years of experience and knows how important the development of every student is, and she's excited to be in this new role. So I'm going to ask her to come up so that we can together introduce Miss Wells. So Miss Darylyn Jones. Okay, I'm going to do the formal reading of the information about Emily Wells, and then it's possible that Darylyn will want to add a little bit of a personal touch since they've been working together for a little over a month in this capacity. Emily Wells joined Portland Public Schools in 2015. At Lyman Moore Middle School, she has served as a special education teacher and case manager, the special education building-based liaison, and an English language arts teacher. She has also served on the school's leadership team as both content and house team leads, in addition to being a mentor teacher. Emily began her teaching career in the South Bronx, working at both the high school and middle school levels, and was recognized in 2012 with the Bob Costas Award of the Teaching of Writing by the College Board. She also worked in East Oakland, California, gaining leadership experience as a lead and mentor teacher and Common Core instructional driver for the Aspire Charter School Network. During a sabbatical from Portland schools in 2019 and 2020, she gained international experience teaching secondary English literature and history in Botswana. Emily attended Franklin and Marshall College in Pennsylvania with a Bachelor's of Arts in Africana Studies and History, and where she was also proudly the captain of the swim team. After that, Emily earned her master's in urban education and special education from Mercy College in New York City. Emily lives in Munjoy Hill with her partner, Pete, and their dog, Levon. So that is, I'll let you, if you want to add anything.
Hello, board members. I would just like to add that I cannot be more delighted to have Emily Wells as my assistant principal by my side. She's very, very compassionate about education. She has a logical lens. She is very structured and organized. She has been an educator for a very long time, and she has strong leadership skills. We mesh like, we call it coffee and cream. And so I'm so delighted to have her by my side. Thank you for allowing her to be in this role as well. Thank you.
She's asking if she has to come up. I think I will leave that to the board. I say yes.
Yeah, let's move the motion. We'll do the motion, we'll do the vote, and then you're welcome to go up and say a few words if you would like. Sound okay? Beautiful. All right. So do I have a motion for this consideration action to approve personnel items listed school administrators? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. We don't take any public comment on personnel items. Any questions from the board? Okay. Any? Yes. Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to have a clarification. Who's the assistant principals?
Emily Wells.
That's Emily over there. So I just want to make sure then I'm voting to the right person.
Yes.
Just because she spoke and then I told her he's.
Yes, Emily's going to come up after the vote.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other discussion from the board? Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of this personnel item for school administrators. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Member Billieu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Abstain.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden.
Yes.
I'm going to move to Student Representative McDonald and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes with Board Member Grant abstaining and the student representatives voting with the majority. All right, so now you can come up and say a word if you'd like, or two or three, as many as you'd like.
Okay. Well, I won't go over cafeteria expectations because I've already done that a lot today. But I will just,
There you go.
sure, yeah, sorry. But I will just say that we hope to see you all at Lyman Moore sometime soon. You're all welcome at the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're excited to have you in this capacity. Beautiful. Yay. Up next, we've got the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed substitute rate.
Before I do that, can I just, my apologies from one Detroit woman to another, that I referred to Miss Jones as Darylyn Moore. She's not Darylyn Moore. She's Darylyn Jones, principal at Moore. I apologize. I said to her when she was standing up here, did I just call you Darylyn Moore? So that was my error. Darylyn Jones. Go Detroit. Okay. So we have in front of you a request for consideration for our substitute pay rates. And you will see a little bit of a difference in that we've moved to an hourly rate from a daily rate, as would have been in front of you in the past. So if you see that variation, and we've also called out benefits, contribution toward benefits, as well as earned paid leave in this substitute pay rate document.
Okay, hold on one second. Do I have a motion for this consideration action to approve personnel items listed? The substitute rate. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Ali. We don't take public comment on personnel items. Are there any questions from the board? Board Member Grant, go ahead.
Thank you. I generally don't ask questions or comment on personnel issues, so I'm going to act as kind of a pass-through for a constituent who's contacted me this afternoon about this item. I would also say that substitutes are not MEA members, so we're not even really even in the gray zone for me. But with those caveats aside, could you explain if there's any difference between this year and last year when it comes to the insurance piece? The information I'm getting from a constituent is this does represent potentially a significant change for substitutes.
Sure. So in terms of the insurance piece, actually, there has not been an offer of insurance in the past. And so in an effort to become compliant with the Affordable Care Act, we need to offer insurance. And so that's the adjustment that you'll see. I think the other piece is that there's been like a $500 extra given to the subs without offer of insurance in the past. And so that's been available to us, or it's been an option for us because that started during COVID, and we've had those extra funds to do these kinds of things as part of recruiting people and having people work for us during COVID when it was hard to get people to come onto campuses. And so that money we don't have any longer either. So it's sort of twofold. It's sort of looking at what we have budgetarily and also ensuring that we're in compliance with the Affordable Care Act, which again is for these, specifically for our dedicated subs and our long-term subs, that we are required to offer insurance that falls under the Affordable Care Act guidelines in terms of affordability and things like that. So the district will be making a $500 contribution toward medical insurance benefits for substitutes in those categories, which hasn't been done in the past.
Again, I'm trying to translate what I'm getting from a constituent. So it sounds like they're losing the $500 stipend, because the way it was described to me is folks would then go out and use that money on their own to purchase or contribute to their own health insurance outside the Portland school system. And now you're just paying $500 directly into Portland schools insurance.
Right. So
And then just if I can finish,
Sure.
then is it also true that the subs have to pay additional on top of that?
they would have to pay the difference because the insurance plan is more than $500 a month. Yeah. So, and I don't think it's on here, but I want to say for single coverage, it's around 300 or 350 additional.
Yeah, the number I was given was $373.
Okay. That's probably accurate. I don't have it on
Yeah,
the paperwork in front of
yeah.
me. But right. So, yes. So my understanding, the daily rate or the wage, the hourly rate, which is the same as the daily rate, that hasn't changed at all, except for the less than bachelor's degree. That did have a little bit of an increase in terms of what that hourly breakdown looks like. But yes, prior, the district has given this sort of stipend in lieu of insurance, but in order to be in compliance, we need to actually offer the insurance.
I mean, I get why you've done it. I'm just concerned. The concern has been expressed to me is this may inhibit our ability to get some subs, because this is actually could be a loss of dollars to these folks. Would you think? Do you think that's an accurate characterization?
Sure, I can see that perspective.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think that our rates are still are comparable to surrounding districts without that additional money, but I can understand that perspective. Yes.
Okay. For now, that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Grant. I've got one follow-up question, and then I'll come to you, Student Representative McDonald. Would you be able to walk through this grid and just note any other differences that are from last year to this year?
Sure. So the day rates, like I say, or the rate is essentially the same, but instead of it being a day rate, it's done as an hourly rate for a handful of reasons, but in part because for our finance department, that's a lot more workable. Also, if we have, for example, an ed tech who would like to take 2 hours of leave time, in the past, it's been harder to fill, or a teacher who's taking a partial, right? So this can sort of be done in the hourly for our daily people in particular. So the overall day rate is fairly similar. Like I said, for the people in that first row, less than a bachelor's degree, it is more. It was, I think, $95 a day in the past. So that's gone up. And it's based on a 7-hour day. The other piece in terms of the earned paid leave is that by having people on an hourly rate, it allows us in compliance with Maine state law to be tracking that earned paid leave. So for every 40 hours that they're clocked in, they earn an hour of earned paid leave, and they can have up to 40 hours a year and use that. And I think what's important to state about that is I will say I don't know that a lot of our employees or our subs in particular have realized that they've had access to that, especially our daily subs. So it doesn't matter if they work every once in a while or work every single day, they're still earning at that rate and have access to that time off, so that if they're a substitute who's picked up an assignment and then they get sick, they can actually call out and get paid for that time, which is a fairly new change and significant change. So there's that earned paid leave provision that's written in there. And then the $500 a month toward a medical benefits plan, which again has sort of been done as a stipend, but in seeking some counsel and looking at what our obligation is as a district, we've shifted that money over into the offer of insurance as required, mandated under ACA.
Thank you. Student Representative McDonald? Oh. Hold on.
Try the one next to you.
Henry's on it. Here we come.
Does it work?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
yeah,
go.
it does. Thank you so much for all this information. I kind of have a 3-part question, and it's about, it's not about, I promise. It's about the term dedicated substitute. Just what does that mean? What are the qualifications, and why does it pay more than a Maine, I don't know what the term is, a Maine certified teacher who's also a PPS retired teacher?
It's around certification, and a dedicated substitute is a substitute that the school has selected to be there basically every day. And that person has the ability to cover wherever there are gaps for that day. So rather than the school site and having recently been a principal myself. This is pretty nice to have. So rather than the school site sort of waiting to see if people have picked up those daily assignments when teachers or ed techs are out sick, they know that they already have a couple of people on campus that they can plug in if a daily sub doesn't pick up that job.
Okay, so
But there's a commitment
paying
level
them
and some
more
sort of
for like being there in case they need someone.
yes, and a different level of education too.
Okay. What's the different level of education?
The expectation would be at least a bachelor's degree for the dedicated subs.
Okay. But is that the same as the Maine certified teacher and PPS retired teacher?
No.
Like, no. So they don't.
No, so the dedicated sub is specifically, really, they've made a commitment that they're coming every day of the school year.
Okay.
To the school for us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Board Member Upperman and then Board Member Figdor.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question, Jennifer. What is the minimum number of hours in a day that a sub would be paid to work?
Well, ideally, they would come in for the 7 hours, but certainly if there was a need for a substitute for a couple of hours, if that was what someone's need was, like I said, an ed tech could take off an hour or two if they needed to leave for an appointment. And if, let's imagine like an ed tech who's serving in a one-on-one capacity with a special education, a student with an IEP, and if that ed tech needed to leave for a doctor's appointment and needed to leave an hour and a half or 2 hours early, we would really like to have coverage. So if there was someone available to pick up that time, we'd want to be able to pay them for that time. And so, rather than the principal having to sort of like figure out who to pull from to cover for that, right? So I mean, it could be done by the hour. I think it would be pretty unusual for it to be an hour at a time, but that would be available as an option if we're paying hourly.
Well, that was my question, that it would be a fraction of the $95 per day that we offer to a sub, correct?
Right, which is now $113.40.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the lowest rate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Board Member Upperman. Board Member Figdor.
I'd like to propose an amendment to this, which is to increase all of the rates by 3.2%, which is the cost of living increase, the COLA increase for 2024. Given that we've aimed to continue to keep our staff's salaries and pay and wages as updated and as substantial as possible, so people are making a living wage. I think the same should absolutely be true for our substitutes. So I don't know if that's possible to do today or if we would need an analysis of the impact, but we haven't had in the past information come to us like this on a on a first read basis, where it seems like we're not going through a first and second read. So we did even today just get some emails like what school board member Grant suggested in terms of the impact of the $500 contribution towards health insurance not being available for someone to use for their current insurance. I understand that change, but I do think that, so I'm going to go forward with that amendment and leave it to the chair to decide whether we can consider that now or need to push it to the next meeting.
Thank you for that, Board Member Figdor. I'm going to take any other questions first, and then we'll come back to the issue of the amendment. Are there any other questions from the board? Yes, Board Member Grant, go ahead.
So under this scenario, if it passes, what is the option for someone to turn down the insurance? Would they just be out of luck in terms of, vis-a-vis last year getting the stipend?
As it exists right now, there's no like cash in lieu option.
Yeah, okay. And then the second question is, how many dedicated subs do we have right now?
Oh, goodness.
Well, you can ballpark as
Yeah,
a forensic examination here.
25 to 30.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just also checking email to see kind of, and there are a handful of emails on this. Go ahead, Board Member Bryden.
Thank you, Chair. I am hoping to maybe get a brief, high-level summary of how these specific dollar amount rates were landed on. It sounds like, for example, the less than bachelor's degree has gone up. I'm wondering what the analysis was around others not changing, just the factors that went into those decisions.
Sure. So, and I wish Helene was here because she could add some context to this, but the other ones were basically just taking the rate from everything except for the less than bachelor's degree was taking the rate from last year. Actually, that's not true. All but the first and the last one was taking the rate from last year and dividing by the number of hours per day, 7, and coming up with that hourly rate. The less than a bachelor's degree, that number is consistent with step 1 of the EdTech 1 salary schedule, which is why that was the number that was determined. And I did quick math. I'm not Helene, so I don't have any idea if my math is right, but I think that's about an 8% raise from the $15 an hour. So a question I would have if we do a cost analysis of the 3.2% COLA proposal would be if we are doing that above the 8% that was already added. So that would be a question I would have. And then in terms of long-term substitute, that's always consistently been the step 1 of the teacher's salary schedule. So that did increase because it increased contractually as well. So that's why the change to that rate.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Thank you. So what I try to know is that overall, how many subs did we use last year, 23-24 cycle, of the request on the subs?
Well, I can tell you that I sent emails out to probably around 100 people. I would say that, that runs the range from people who were able to pick up on nearly every day to people who maybe worked once or twice a month. So it's not necessarily consistent, but.
Okay. So do we have those subs who used to be, in our district, or we have some calling from outside the districts as well?
We have both. We have a lot of our substitutes who are remaining with us, and then we do have some new substitutes that we've brought on board over the summer, and we'll continue to do so throughout the year. That's usually one position that is kind of on a rolling basis that you're filling that position.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. I want to come back to Board Member Figdor's amendment. Let me just check on Zoom. Board Member Opperman, is your hand up for this conversation or? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
I would feel more comfortable if we were able to have some information come to finance next week about this. And because I have a concern that and perhaps we can make a decision of suggestion at that point. If a person is coming in for a partial day, there should be some, I don't believe 1 hour will be, the need will not be met. I mean, just getting to and from work, by vehicle or however could cost. So I think I would like to have a longer discussion on this at finance and then come back again on a second read. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. I think I would share your view on that. It sounds like the board would like a lot more information. So that is where, I'm landing that we could also take it to finance, but I do want to respect the amendment that's on the floor. So we're going to do, you've made the motion. Is there a second? And would you say to add a 3.2 COLA to this package? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, although I would love to be able to take time to get more information. For instance, knowing that the long-term substitute rate is linked to the bottom of the initial step on the teacher scale is critical information. I certainly wouldn't want to upset that. So if we could take time to get more information, and then bring this back to our next meeting, that would be great. Or however, if you want it to go to finance
Beautiful.
or.
Yeah, I think probably what makes the most sense is to take it to finance, but I'd like to use some time right now to just go through again, what are the pieces of information that we'd like from Jennifer and her team and the superintendent to be able to take up in that committee meeting. Does that sound okay with you? Okay, so yes, go ahead.
So one is in the past, and I don't.
Just to be quick, so you're taking your amendment off the floor.
I'm taking the amendment off the floor.
Thank you.
I would like us to consider a cost of living increase for our subs. If it's easily available. In the past, we've looked at comps for similar districts, and that would be helpful. But I'm not sure that's determinative for me because I think and so I don't want to create a lot of work. But I think the thing that, the reason why I want to propose this is so that we are consistent, as much as possible, recognizing cost of living increases for all of our staff to the best of our ability. And so certainly don't want to go without having that conversation for our subs.
Thank you, Board Member Figdor. So other pieces of information that we would like, I saw a hand over here, Board Member Grant, was that a hand?
No, no more information. I'm not asking for more information. I'll wait till that's dispensed with.
Board Member Bryden.
Thanks. I would be interested in getting more information about the history of increases. It sounds like, what we're looking at is mostly no change from previous year, but like going back a few years, that would be information that I'd like to see. And then also maybe a couple years worth of historical total spend to sort of get a sense of, because I don't disagree at all about the need to pay folks wages that are livable and commensurate with the hard and important work that they're doing. I also want to understand what the financial impact would be. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other information that the board would be requested be ready for the Finance Committee meeting? I think it would be good to see around the insurance, if there's any other, going back more than 1 year, if there's any other information about that. And I had another thought and it's gone, but it will come back and I can email you about it. As your total spend.
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Yes.
So being sensitive to the fact that we have sort of 2 back-to-back board meetings this month, right? I think we have one next week as well, and that we're in the middle of a pay cycle, and I know not wanting to cause a ton of upheaval. If we're able to pull some things together to present Monday, are you comfortable if we try to have this on the agenda for next Tuesday?
I think we try to move it. Because I'd like this to be set as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
And then, if something comes up within committee and they can't pass it out, it will stay in committee and we'll adjust. Sorry, the other piece that I just remembered is kind of like how this fits in our universe of salaries and wages. And that can be, it doesn't have to be specifics, but just like how this is oriented to other units. Okay. Other thought, Board Member Grant? No more, we're not getting any more data points, but are there other questions or thoughts? Yes, Board Member.
I'll just say I have some of that historical information, so if it's helpful, I can pull it together.
I will find you. Thank you.
I also want to acknowledge that you've only been with us for a couple of months and the ways that you were able to answer all of those questions so thoughtfully and concisely. I just really appreciate. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to move us along. That is tabled. Do I have to vote on a table?
Well, I was just going to say as a point of order that I would make a motion to table and refer to the Finance Committee.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
I've considered that my motion.
Let's follow process. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. I'm going to do all in favor. All in favor of moving this to Finance? Thank you. Any opposed? No, so the motion to move this to Finance for next Monday is approved. Thank you. Good job, team. And last, we have the consideration and action to approve personnel items listed. This was that we covered in the last executive session, a placement of related employee in the same department as discussed in executive session 8/20/24. So is there a motion for this action? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Ali. Any questions from the board? Okay, we don't take public comment on personnel items. So then let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, please.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Abstain.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden?
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the motion passes. Now we're going to move to new business. So I'm going to read all of these motions into the record, and then we'll have workshops on all of these after adjournment. So up first, we have our first read of proposed changes to policy BEC-E, which is the employment of relatives. Then we have a first read of proposed changes to policy BEC-B, which is the board member conflict of interest. We have first read of proposed changes to policy BEC executive sessions and policy BEC-E, which is executive session law. We have the first read of proposed changes to policy BED, which is remote participation in board meetings. We have the first read of proposed changes to policy BEDD, rules of order. And finally, we have the first read of proposed changes to policy BHE, the school committee use of electronic mail. So please hold tight for workshops on all of those policies. And then I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. All in favor? Great. So we are adjourned at 7:12 p.m.